Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming, and welcome to a Borderlands State of Play. Borderlands 3 State of Play for September. I know, we didn't do one for August. For obvious reasons, there wasn't a lot there. But we're going to do one for this month, and you know who's going to help me run down all the topics. Our resident build master, you know him. Go ahead.
Yo, what's up, old man fam? Philbilly 330 here, back again, once again, finally into some more Borderlands content. We have, as Zach said, the State of Play coming at you for, I don't even know what month it is. You just said
September.
September. That's right.
Philbilly's a new dad, so months start to blend together now.
Yeah.
Okay, so we didn't do one for August because there really wasn't any changes to speak of.
Nah, not really. Not actually, not at all that I can think of.
But September brought a lot of changes. We got a brand new 4th DLC. We got a level cap increase. And we also got a lot of previews for future additions to the game. So let's start with what we have right now, and that is Psycho Krig and the fantastic Flustercluck, the 4th DLC. My review is up right now. I know, strange little plug in there, and you guys can go check out mainly my thoughts on it. But Philbilly, what do you think about it?
I liked it for so I watched your review. I agree with a lot that you said. Like, the enemy types were the same. I do wish, like, I wish they would have done something. Like, I love Krieg is my favorite character, which may have me slightly blinded because I did have fun with the DLC. Yeah. I will be transparent. I didn't play. Time's been a little limited lately, so I played through the whole story part. I did skip out on a lot of the side missions, but I wanted to at least play through the story before we did this, so that way I could, be educated on at least the main idea of the DLC. Yeah. I liked it a lot. I thought the writing was great. Like, anytime I get to hear Krieg's back and forth between his sane and psycho side, I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
I will admit that I do think Gearbox they were able to be a little lazy with it. Because I agree they used a lot of the same. There were some new areas, but there was a lot of areas that we've been to that were just, as you said, twisted in Krieg's mind, kind of.
Right. My big problem with it was I felt like they used all the assets and kind of repackaged it into this like other storyline, which is nice that you're getting the new storyline, but it's a little irritating that you're paying for basically everything you've already fought or done in a lot of ways.
Yeah, let's be honest, you're paying for Krieg. Like, that's really what you're paying for in that storyline.
Yeah.
I did think it was funny. We've talked about in Borderlands 330 how there's times where we don't like the DLCs that are like breaking the fourth wall, like it's not real, kind of like the.
Yeah, I don't like the existential ones as much. Claptrap and the Tiny Tina one. I get detached a little bit. Like I can't take that suspension of disbelief.
And I do tend to agree with you, although I did think it was funny. There was one line I caught where, like, my character, I played through his flak, and he asked, like, basically asked Tannis, can I keep the guns that I find? And she's like, yes, you just have to remember that you have to believe that they're not as fake as, or something along those lines.
Yeah, it was like you have to believe that they're much more real than they actually are.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Funny one, but I
Yeah.
didn't think there was, I will admit, like, so while uh, Tiny Tina's DLC in Borderlands 2, I know it was a lot of people's favorites. It wasn't my favorite. I did like it, but
Right.
um, I don't feel that this DLC was the same caliber as that one. It was much shorter,
Yeah.
like way, way, way shorter. That DLC in Borderlands 2 had probably 6 hours if you beelined it through the story. This one I made it through in like 2 hours 40 minutes ish.
Right.
So it was a little short, and it didn't develop as much like story as the some of the other DLCs have.
Right.
It was kind of just like, uh, hey, go there, go here, kill this,
Right.
fetch kind of questy.
Well, and that was I do want to say sometimes it gets lost in my review a little bit. Just because you're trying to get through so much in a small amount of time. But I thought the Krieg stuff was exquisite in this game. Like everything with Krieg and him talking to himself, I'm 100% with you. The writing was top notch there. I just felt like the writing everywhere else was a little lackluster. And it also felt kind of like filler because you didn't accomplish anything. You don't like cure psychos. You know what I mean? You don't further the storyline in any way, shape, or form. I mean, you help Krieg, and I thought that was a nice through line, but as far as everything else, it just kind of felt like filler.
Yeah, I'm not in disagreement with you. I thought it was nice that at the end they kind of like pulled on the. They almost tried
Yeah.
to like take Krieg's story and make it relatable for everybody. Like he says, like everybody loses something.
Yeah.
Sometimes it may be your mind. You just have to persevere and get through it, type of thing.
I
So that they kind of made it like
yeah,
a little feely, I guess.
I loved that. I thought that and I did say that in my review at one point. I loved that they took a person they could have really easily just had him say funny stuff the entire time. But instead they took the extra step to really put some character development in this character that seemed kind of undevelopable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like on the surface level, there's not a lot to him, and they made a lot to him, which I enjoyed that. And I think just like the other DLCs they've done, like the subject matter that they usually try and tackle, they do it so well that I'm always happy with it. And this time it was just mental health, and I felt like they both made light of mental health situations, but also like shined cool lights on them and how to like help. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
and
almost
it
like
was
a
just
public service thing.
yeah, it was so good on that level. Um and so I agree with that. I loved everything with Krieg. I just felt like on a whole, it didn't feel I don't know, it just felt the weakest to me. It was just the smallest. There wasn't a lot of new stuff to it. It didn't really serve any purpose. And I felt like the overall writing, not the writing for Krieg or the dialogue, but like the reason you're there and how you get there and how you got out, like I felt like they could have just done such a better job with that.
I do agree. It doesn't, for me, it doesn't fall on the bottom. It's somewhere in the middle of the DLCs for me.
Okay.
And all the DLCs are better than the stories writing.
Yeah.
I'll admit that.
Yeah.
But it falls somewhere in the middle for me. But again, like I said, the reason it may be in the middle for me is just because I was that nerd in Borderlands 2 that liked Krieg so much that I found every audio log of him. And I actually knew some of, like, I knew his backstory better than, I'm not saying everybody, but
Right.
probably most people didn't
Right.
nerd out as much as me and search for all those. So
that's nice. Just nostalgia is going to touch you in that way.
Yes, exactly. That's probably shifting my. The one biggest complaint I have that I've noticed, I think boss mechanics are lost on Gearbox at this point.
Yeah.
I really
I've been having
do.
that problem because like they've had these flash of genius bosses and then you expect more of that and you realize it was just like a lucky shot, you know, every once in a while.
Yeah, like what Gearbox, if you ever listen, it's not that hard. Like the answer isn't immunity phases. The answer isn't buffing health pools just to make them tanks. The answer is like other games do this. Like you can have phases and them not feel blah. Like
Right.
have you kill the boss, make you feel like you killed that boss, and then it transforms or something like that
Right.
with a cut scene, or something comes out of the ground and you find out that thing you killed that you thought was the boss actually wasn't. Like there's so many cool things you can do, and you guys keep going back to the same formula.
They do. They do. I will say, and if you are going to use an immunity phase, you need to be creative with it. And
yeah, exactly.
like not just make them immune for a period of time. Like in the Tentacle DLC, the one boss that we really liked where he would gain an immunity phase and you had to do like a platforming section, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like stuff like that. Be creative with your immunity phases. If that's the route you want to take, be creative with it. I mean, the thing that irritates me, I'm sorry, I just burped on. The thing that irritates me the most, and I think you'll echo this when I say it, about the immunity phases in Borderlands is, you know, when you have an immunity phase in like a game like Destiny, you're not grinding something for speed to, like, the way they've set up loot in Borderlands. You have to kill bad guys to get the good gear, and the good gear drops only so many times with a very small percentage. So they've set it up so that you have to fight a bad guy, kill that bad guy, go back to that bad guy, fight that bad guy, kill that bad guy, go back to that bad guy, fight that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily like that. I think that's a poor system, but that's the system you've set up. If you're going to set up that system, it seems real dickish to put in immunity phases that makes it harder and harder for people to fight through the bad guys. I think it should be challenging the first time, but after that, I feel like you should make it easier because they're trying to grind out this stuff to make up for the fact that they need the gun. You know, when you're doing Destiny, you're getting a lot of the good loot from completing the mission, you know, not necessarily grinding out a bad guy here or there, you know? So that immunity phase doesn't feel like it matters as much, you know?
Yeah, we've talked about that,
Yeah.
just me and you, and like we mentioned how if you're going to do the immunity phases, fine, do them the first time you encounter that boss. But like when you go and fight that boss a second time, maybe the answer is just scrap the immunity phases, because let's be honest, the immunity phases aren't really adding any kind of challenge. They're just slowing down the fight. I mean,
They're
that's kind of what the
down.
point of them is.
Right. That's exactly right.
So if you're grinding it out, there's no reason to slow it down. So if
right. I think that can actually dovetail into the next thing I want to talk about, which is, you know, they increased the level cap. I believe it was to 65, right?
Yes.
What are we doing here with the level caps? Like, I feel like with Borderlands 2, like, okay, you can keep increasing the level caps because the way those games worked back then is different from how they work now. How they work now, you're kind of running this like a games of service. Even though you're not a games of service, you're doing events and whatever. But, like, all these level cap increases do is make everything somebody's already done useless and make them have to do it again.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it. It feels like they're just, they have a game that they know that there's not quite enough content out there for, so they're making a reason for you to have to redo the same content that you've already done. The big issue I have, like, I knew in Borderlands there's going to be level cap increases. I'm cool with that. But what they did different too in the second game was the fact that they were big level cap increases and there weren't as many. This time they've done like a bunch of three level raises. They've done that, like 1, 2, 3.
Let's say like 4 or 5 times. Honestly.
4. I believe this is the 5th level cap increase so far. Where in Borderlands 2 it went from 50 to 61 to 70, and then it hung out at 70 for a really long time, if I remember right. And then it went to 72 when the Commander Lilith. I could be off on this a little bit, but I think it was something like that.
It was like it was somewhere between 72 and 75, but you're right. the level increases were huge. That makes you feel like you have to go there and play kind of like a whole nother game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But these 3-point increases, all they serve to do is, because your build is what it is, you need to find the same guns again, but you need to find them at the level that the cap has been raised to, which means you have to go back and grind the same guys over and over again.
Which we talked about this recently,
Yeah.
and we had talked about, like, we were trying to brainstorm. Tell us what you think about this idea. Like, brainstorm ways that they could have fixed this. And my pitch was like, okay, you could have, let's say, 1 or 2 level cap raises, and that'd be okay. But let's say you wanted to still be able to give levels to the player, so that way they could change their build, add skill points to their trees and blah, blah, blah. They should have set up, my pitch was they should have set up like a prestige system. So like,
Yeah.
let's say level cap was level 50 and it always stayed level 50, but you want to make it, so basically what I'm saying is they're constantly adding new guns. So you got new weapons to farm for and new anointments to farm for, and that's cool. But your level 50 guns that you worked so hard for would never become obsolete. What they would do instead to give you skill point levels would be to have some sort of prestige system. So like you hit level 50, that was max, and then you went level 50 prestige 1, which gave you 1 skill point, let's say, and then 2. And so your prestige you might have 20 levels of prestige, which would take your skill point level from 50 to 70, but your guns would still be level 50.
Right.
And so you wouldn't feel like you can grind whatever the heck you want to raise your prestige, instead of having to go and kill Captain Trant 9 million times to farm up whatever is in his loot pool.
I'm not gonna lie, I know Guardian rank was not this, but when I first started playing, that's what I thought Guardian rank was. I thought we weren't going to do the level increases, and that Guardian rank would be just a slower, systematic post level cap advancement system, and obviously I think they would need to rework that completely, but like I don't understand why we couldn't have stayed at 50 either. Like just stay at 50, and I mean every other game like this stays at 50, and then they have some other way to advance you or give you a reason to like grind or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like making people, the other thing that I'd love, just a side note because we have to move on, but the other thing I'd love is if opening a chest mattered again.
Yeah, man, I know. That's another thing I was going to say about this DLC. So like after you beat the final boss of the DLC, you actually, I got really excited because all the DLCs have been missing this huge like treasure room,
Right.
And it kind of had one, like not to the extent of like General Knox's armory or anything,
Right.
but it had one. And so I'd say I probably opened about, I don't know, between 10 and 15 red chests in this room. I had 2 legendaries pop. I fought nobody bad guys throughout my playthrough and had 15 of them drop.
Right.
And I open all those chests and I get 2 legendary pop. It's just like so anticlimactic. Like I remember in General Knox Armory, and that was Borderlands 1, right? Yeah.
Borderlands 1, it was way more about the chest. At least that's how I remember it. Like getting the really good loot was all about getting into the treasure rooms,
Yeah, which was awesome because that was like the vault, your vault hunters, that made it feel like the vault was the goal. And I think they kind of
I feel like Borderlands 3 should be called Murderers, like because you're not trying to like get into any vaults. You're just trying to find the biggest dude and kill him enough times until he drops his special gun.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like they kind of lost sight a little bit on that. Like even in Borderlands 2, there was the pirate's booty one, and the boss at the end of that, you got into a big like vault. It wasn't a vault, but it was like some kind of room, if I remember right.
Right.
To get back in it, you'd have to kill that boss again, and it was cool.
That would extend the play a little bit because you'd want to kill through an entire thing to get into the vault instead of just like murdering something and save quitting as many times as humanly possible, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we got to move on to something a little bit more positive, and that is going to be the skill trees. So this is the stuff we don't have yet that has been teased and confirmed. Every character is getting a 4th skill tree. They are also getting a 4th ability thing with it. I was able to confirm that.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, at least I'm assuming so, because the one they showed off was the Beastmaster. I can't remember. Flax. And
my favorite character. Thanks, Zach.
Sorry, man. He had a 4th pet, and it's a small Hyperion robot.
Oh, I never saw what his pet was. That's cool.
Yeah, so there's a 4th pet for him, so you can only assume that Zane's going to get a 4th gadget, Amara's going to get a 4th use for her powers, and Mose is going to get some sort of 4th weapon system for the Iron Bear. This really opens stuff up. It really makes things interesting. It's kind of in lieu of adding a whole nother character. And I'm very interested. I have a couple of ideas how this can fix things personally, but it's really going to divide up the builds and stuff. The only thing
it might bring me back in to at least for a little while, because I'll have to start. I mean, that's what I get. That's my favorite part about Borderlands.
I'm very excited to play around with it too. My only problem with this though is I feel like with 4 skill trees, they're just going to keep giving us level increases, because now with a 4th skill tree, you're not even going to be able to max everything out even at level 100. So I think that we're going to keep getting these incremental level cap increases, which is unfortunate. That's the only downside I see in this, honestly.
I hope you're wrong, but I could definitely see them doing that.
I hope I'm wrong too. I really want this to be a reason to really respect those trees and see what kind of new combos you get, but
that's sometimes my favorite part is not being able to max them all and being able to be like, okay, if I go to tier 3 on this one and pick up this skill, it really works well with tier 5 on this one, the capstone on this one, and then tier 2 on this tree. And I like making those builds that just have, you've commented on how some of my builds, I don't fill anything out. I'm just grabbing these specific ones to make something work,
Yeah, it drives my OCD crazy.
It works, though.
It does. It totally does. I'm very excited to see what happens with this. I am very excited to see what this is going to entail. I like the addition of the 4th ability is what I'm really excited about too. Not just the skill tree itself, but a new thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be very interesting, I think, all the way around. And I do want to say another positive from Gearbox there on the right side of this, which is rare, but anybody who owns Borderlands 3 and is planning on getting the next gen system will get a free upgrade. You will be able to upgrade it for free to the next system's specs and graphics and all that stuff. So,
and cross-platform.
What?
And they're going to supposedly bring cross-platform too.
Yes, they are bringing cross-platform play as well. And I just want to say good on you, Gearbox. I mean, you have not had the best press on this game, both in your company and on the game itself. And this, I think it's nice. It's really nice to see the company on the right side of something for a change.
Yeah, now all you got to let me do is download my Xbox thing to my PC and play for free there.
Right.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But
well, they said we'll get cross saves, but I bet you'll have to buy it on PC.
I'm sure I will. And maybe someday if they come out with how they always have a game of the year type edition thing for cheaper, maybe I'll do that. But we shall see on that. We'll see how many other games grab me.
For now, we're stuck in dancing claptrap zone. Finally, I'd like to end on a fun note. The other thing they teased without saying anything whatsoever about it is that alongside these skill trees, we're going to get a completely new game mode. And that can mean anything. My creative brain has gone crazy. Phil, do you have any speculation as to what that could be?
Dude, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know. Like they made the joke that they would never do the uh, ba- uh
Battle
battle
Royale?
royale thing, and really, I don't know how you could. And Borderlands, I mean, I'm sure there's someone who could brainstorm up a way, but I don't see that, and I don't know. I can't think of what it would be.
I'm very confused as to what they're doing with this because really like everything I can think of that they can do with this medium they've done. Like they have the like horde mode, which is basically the you know the slaughter
Circle of Slaughter, yeah.
the circle slaughters. So they've got that kind of like horde mode already. They've got the True Vault Hunter, which is a higher. They've got the Mayhem mode, which sucks and I hate, but it's there. So like,
They've
I'm
got the takedowns. They've got
right,
the what are those things that you run
proving
through and
grounds.
get a chest? Yeah, proving
Right.
grounds.
So like, the only thing I can potentially think of, and this would be kind of crazy if they did it, is something along the roguelite genre, which is like a procedurally generating thing that you have to run through, and every time it's different. So it would be akin to the Proving Grounds, but Proving Grounds, the scenery doesn't change. It's like the bad guys kind of change, but they're the same kind of bad guys that spawn, right?
Yeah.
But I mean like a full roguelike, like roguelite, which is like the layout's different, the bad guys are different, everything's different, kind of akin to what Division 2 just is about to do with their whole tower DLC.
So
Um,
it would be like a dungeon crawl kind of.
yes. The only thing I can think of is something like that. Not like it would be like you'd get a room that's procedurally generated scenery and monsters. You'd have to kill through the room, and then you'd move into the next one, procedurally generated, and you just keep going and looting and going until you die, basically.
I'll tell you what that would be cool. I'd be cool with that. I hope it's not PvP
Oh,
because I don't think that game suits PvP.
I don't think you can do PvP with it, honestly. I feel like that game is too like that game is meant to be overpowered because you're only fighting back like boss like bad guys. Like you can't like how would you center that power level? You know what I mean?
Well, and that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, because we've always had the argument when they always nerf stuff of, hey guys, this is a PVE
Right.
game. So who cares? Just let us be powerful. And I'll be honest with you, I like having that standpoint with this game. I don't want to have the standpoint of, oh, this needs nerfed and this needs balanced and this character is
Right.
too powerful. I don't want that.
Well, PvE is a completely different ball game too. Like it really is. Like I mean, I'm sorry, PvP is a completely different ball game. It really is. Like the balancing and the way a game functions is completely different from what you're doing in a PvE situation. You know,
Yeah.
I feel like in that point you're gonna have to start nerfing guns, and then you're gonna get into this weird thing where it's like, well, I mean, Destiny has the problem where like, well, this gun is great against bad guys, but if you take it into the PvP arena, it's useless. You know what I mean? So you have to like change your build for where you are. Plus, how do you deal with the skill trees? Some of those, like when you find like when you're fighting enemies, it doesn't feel as unbalanced. But if you're fighting an opponent, like how can you tell? You know what I mean? All of a sudden, there's an ability that's broken. You know, I think
Yep.
the only way.
And
I'm sorry. Go
oh,
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead. I plus it could bring. I don't think they'll do this, but I hope. I'm just saying why I hope they don't. It would also bring like a toxicity to
Yeah.
like the community that I think is the most awesome community that I've, as far as gaming goes, that I've been involved with. There's like the least amount of toxicity in Borderlands, and
Right.
if you brought PvP into it, it would change.
I think. I think the only thing you can do with PVE. realistically, in my opinion, is some sort of like leaderboard scenario.
Which that'd be okay, like a time trial type thing.
Yeah, I would also be really interested if I was going to do a Borderlands Battle Royale. The way I would do it is it wouldn't be PvP, it would be PvE, and just like the last one surviving, like a PvE horde mode, you know.
Yeah.
And then like that's how I would do a Borderlands Battle Royale, and it would just be like 50 to 100 people, and then the last one surviving is the winner, but you're fighting the bad guys, not each other.
That'd be okay. I guess there's some ways they could pull it off. I just hope it doesn't become like, I don't want them to do what Destiny did. I don't think it would. I'm not saying it doesn't work for Destiny. I don't know. I never really played that game, but I don't think it would fit well for Borderlands.
I don't think it fits well for the looting structure either, because with Destiny, like I said, a lot of the loot comes from like post a match or post a game. It's not in-game stuff you're collecting, whereas Borderlands is all collecting from the bad guys you kill. So like, do you collect stuff from killing your opponents? And if you do, like, who would go in there with anything?
Yeah.
Just on the off chance they lose it, I don't know, like that kind of thing. I just don't understand how that would work, but I'm interested to see what they put in front of us.
Yeah, I'm very curious because I really don't have any idea other than my fears, but I don't think they'll do what I'm afraid of. I would be surprised.
I would be surprised if they did it. They just don't seem committed to that sort of thing. So, all right. Well, I think we've covered everything in the world of Borderlands. Again, we're sorry we didn't do an August one, but there just wasn't enough headlines for it to be worth it. And we will definitely be back in October if there's enough stuff to talk about, and it looks like there's going to be.
Yeah, they didn't give us a date on that stuff, though, correct?
No date on anything that I saw. So if we get a date, we'll definitely do a show on that. So we're going to try and do one in October. But for right now, that's it for the State of Play. You got anything special to plug there, Philbilly?
All you Borderlands people, we are on our final season of Borderlands 3.30. If any of you are still with us, at least to watch us mess around and play through the not that amazingly written story, we're almost done with it, so check it out.
We're in the final season. I'm very excited to actually finish that one. That has been a gargantuan undertaking for us. And I'm excited to move on to another game too.
Yeah.
So check that out. Check out everything the channel has to offer. You can check us out on Facebook at OmanGamingDH, on Twitter at OmanGaming9. You can join our Discord. The link is in the description below. You can influence this and all of our shows from there. And of course, you guys keep watching and listening. We'll keep making them. See you guys next month.
Please throw us a like, comment, and subscribe if you do enjoy this.
Yeah, please do. Nice job, Philbilly. Yes, and tell your friends.
Later, old man fam.